Live from New Delhi, you're watching the India News Hour, India's voice to the world with me, Deepika, coming up in the next 1 hour. Sheikh Hasina hits out at Yunus-led interim government in Bangladesh, accuses him of failing to maintain law and order and allowing extremism. Ukraine peace talks in Florida were productive and constructive, US envoy says, as US, Europe, Russia engage on peace plan. US military assets seen operating in Puerto Rico as Washington expands Caribbean presence amid Venezuela tensions and regional security operations. Australia Parliament to vote on stricter gun laws, proposal to impose major curbs on firearm ownership. Indian Meteorological Department issues orange alert for dense fog in eastern UP and Bihar, snowfall warning in Jammu and Kashmir, yellow alert in 10 states. Good morning to all the viewers joining us at this morning broadcast. To begin with Bangladesh. Bangladesh is witnessing a sharp deterioration in law and order situation ahead of next year's parliamentary elections. Now, with rising political violence and growing fears as well among especially the minorities. The lynching of a Hindu youth has triggered national as well as international outrage and protests by media bodies. And amid security concerns, Indian visa services in Chattogram have been suspended, while India has also urged justice and protection for minorities.
Law and order in Bangladesh has worsened since the announcement of next year's parliamentary elections, raising safety concerns, particularly among minorities, amid rising political clashes and violence. In Moimansingh, a Hindu youth, Deepu Chandra Das, was lynched on Thursday. The Rapid Action Battalion said no clear evidence of blasphemy has emerged and blamed a factory manager for handing him over to the mob. India on Sunday also rejected as misleading propaganda reports in Bangladesh claiming a security threat during protests outside the Bangladesh High Commission in New Delhi. The Ministry of External Affairs said demonstrators were peacefully protesting the killing of Deepu Chandra Das and urged Bangladesh's interim government to ensure justice and protect minorities. The brutal killing triggered widespread outrage. Bangladesh's Editors' Council and the Newspaper Owners Association of Bangladesh held a joint protest meeting in Dhaka condemning mob violence and attacks on media and cultural institutions and warning of threats to press freedom and democratic values. Meanwhile, the killing of radical organization Inkilab Mancha spokesperson and Dhaka 8 constituency aspirant Sharif Osman Hadi triggered fresh protests and violence. Houses of several Awami League leaders and activists, along with offices of media and cultural institutions, were targeted. Following violent incidents outside the Indian Assistant High Commission in Chattogram, Indian visa operations at the Indian Visa Application Centre in the port city have been suspended until further notice due to security concerns. With Bureau Inputs, Naval Sangh Parmar's report from Dhaka for DD India.
Bangladesh police on Sunday said they have no specific information to suggest that Faisal Karim Masood, the prime suspect in the killing of Inkilab Manch spokesperson Sharif Osman bin Hadi, has left the country. Addressing an emergency press conference at the Ministry of Home Affairs, Additional Inspector General of Police Khandikar Rafiqul Islam said law enforcement and intelligence agencies are actively trying to trace Faisal's whereabouts. He said, and I quote him, "We do not have specific information about his last location, but there is no confirmation that he has fled abroad," unquote. Adding that no concrete evidence has yet emerged linking any political party to the murder. Former Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has launched a sharp attack on the Muhammad Yunus-led interim government, accusing it of failing to maintain law and order and allowing extremist forces to gain ground in Bangladesh. In an email interview with news agency ANI, Hasina said the killing of radical student leader Sharif Osman Hadi and the unrest that followed exposed what she described as lawlessness under the interim suspension. She claimed the situation has deteriorated since her ouster and warned that continuing violence was destabilizing Bangladesh internally while straining ties with neighboring countries and particularly India. So Sheikh Hasina has once again reiterated her statement regarding the current lawlessness happening in Bangladesh under the interim government of Muhammad Yunus, and she launched a sharp attack on the Muhammad Yunus-led interim government, accusing it of failing to maintain law and order and also allowing extremist forces to gain ground, and especially against the minorities. Now, she laid that statement in an email interview with news agency ANI, and there she said that the killing of radical student leader and the unrest that followed exposed what she described as lawlessness under the interim suspension. She further claimed that the situation had deteriorated since her ouster and warned that continuing violence was destabilizing Bangladesh internally while also straining with neighboring countries and specifically talking about India. This has been the statement that came from Sheikh Hasina. And now on to some US and Venezuela tension. The US Coast Guard is pursuing an oil tanker in international waters near Venezuela, which is the second such operation this weekend and the third in less than 2 weeks if successful. US authorities have already seized 2 oil tankers this month, one of them on Saturday. A US official confirmed the US Coast Guard pursued an oil tanker in international waters near Venezuela, along with a US maritime security source identified the vessel as Bella 1. The vessel tracking data showed the most recent location of the tanker at the Caribbean Sea on the 17th of December 2025. The Bella 1, a crude oil carrier that is on the Treasury Department's sanctions list, was empty when it was approaching Venezuela on Sunday. Another official said the tanker was under sanctions, but added that it had not been boarded so far and that interceptions can take different forms, including by sailing or flying close to vessels of concern. Washington has accused Venezuela of using oil money to fund drug-related crime, while Venezuela has described the tanker seizures as theft and kidnapping. US military assets were seen operating in Puerto Rico on Sunday as Washington continued to increase its presence in the Caribbean. The US Navy replenishment oiler USNS Canava has seen docked at the Port of the Americas on Puerto Rico's southern coast. Navy personnel were also visible aboard the ship while it was in port. At Mercedita Airport, mechanics were seen working on V-22 Osprey aircraft, while CH-53E Super Stallion helicopters prepared for and carried out takeoffs. The activity comes amid rising tensions between the US and Venezuela as Washington increases its military presence in the Caribbean, deploying thousands of troops, an aircraft carrier, warships and fighter jets in the region. On to Russia and Ukraine crisis now. Talks were held between US, European and Ukrainian officials over the last 3 days in Florida and aimed at ending the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. US Special Envoy Steve Witkoff called those meetings and separate talks with Russian negotiators productive and focused on a shared strategic approach between Ukraine, United States and Europe. The meetings in Miami were the latest in a series of talks between the US, Russia and Ukraine on a US-drafted 20-point plan to end the conflict. Witkoff said the US-Ukraine meeting focused on 4 key pointers, which includes further development of the 20-pointer plan, a multilateral security guarantee framework, a US security guarantee framework for Ukraine, and further development on economics and prosperity to rebuild Ukraine. South Korea's parliament passed a bill to launch an independent probe into the Jeju airplane crash that took place in the month of December last year and killed 179 people in one of the deadliest air disasters on the country's soil. A panel made up of 18 members of the parliament will investigate the possible causes of the crash. A Jeju Air Boeing 737-800 made a belly landing at Muan Airport without its landing gear down after an aborted landing, overshot the runway and slammed into an embankment, killing all but 2 of the 181 people on board as it erupted in a fireball. An investigation by the government-led Aviation and Railway Accident Investigation Board had yet to produce a final report. It is said an interim report in January that the aircraft's 2 engines sustained bird strikes. Southeast Asian foreign ministers are set to meet on Monday in Malaysia's Kuala Lumpur for crisis talks aimed at halting deadly border clashes between Thailand and Cambodia. Monday's meeting will be the first face-to-face meeting between the two neighbors since the fighting resumed on the 8th of December. Malaysia, that holds the chair of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, expressed hope that the talks in Kuala Lumpur would help achieve a lasting ceasefire between the two countries. The US also called on Cambodia and Thailand to cease fighting and fully implement the Kuala Lumpur peace accords following renewed clashes along their disputed border. Renewed fighting between the two neighbors this month has killed at least 22 people in Thailand and 19 in Cambodia and displaced more than 900,000 on both the sides. The reignited violence shattered a fragile truce reached after 5 days of clashes in July with US, Chinese and Malaysian mediation. Malaysia's former Prime Minister Najib Razak, jailed for corruption in the multi-billion-dollar 1MDB scandal, will learn on Monday if he can serve the remainder of his sentence at home in first of the 2 rulings this week that will also test current Premier Anwar Ibrahim's campaign against the graft. Najib, who's been in prison since 2022, had his 12-year jail sentence halved last year by a pardons board chaired by the country's former king. But he insists the monarch also issued an addendum order that converts his sentence to house arrest, and he has been seeking to compel the government to confirm the document's existence and enforce its contents. Time for a short break, but still to come on the other side. Authorities secured release of 130 kidnapped school children in Nigeria. After the break, we'll get you visuals from around the world on how cities are gearing up to celebrate Christmas.
स्वागत आहे टू मैग्नेटिक महाराष्ट्र. Come share in the richness of Maharashtra as one family, united by the collective vision of building a better tomorrow.
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DD India News Hour. Well, Israel's cabinet has cleared the creation of 19 new settlements in the occupied West Bank, a move announced on Sunday by Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich. The decision further accelerates settlement expansion under the current government. According to Smotrich, the approval includes 2 settlements that had been dismantled during Israel's 2005 disengagement plan. He said the latest decision takes the total number of new settlements approved over the past 2 years to 69 now. Smotrich said the step is part of a broader effort to strengthen Jewish settlement across the West Bank. According to Peace Now, an anti-settlement watchdog group, the approval increases the number of settlements in the West Bank by nearly 50% during the current government's tenure, from 141 in 2022 to 210 after the current approval. The approval comes amid heightened international criticism of Israeli settlement activity, which most of the countries regard as illegal under the international law. US President Donald Trump has warned Israel against any move to annex the West Bank, saying it would come at a heavy diplomatic cost. The United States is urging Israel and Hamas to move forward with the next stage of the Gaza ceasefire, which came into effect on the 10th of October. Southeast Asian foreign ministers meet in Malaysia on Monday, seeking to end border clashes between Thailand and Cambodia that have killed at least 40 people and displaced more than 500,000 this month. The ministers of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations will seek to revive a short-lived ceasefire brokered by Malaysia, this year's ASEAN chair, and US President Donald Trump. ASEAN members Thailand and Cambodia are scheduled to attend the gathering in Kuala Lumpur, which is the first face-to-face meeting between the governments since the fighting resumed on December the 8th. Thailand has carried out strikes on Cambodian military positions and halted fuel shipments through a Laotian border checkpoint due to fears they were being diverted to Cambodia. The Thai army said Cambodia had been using drones to drop bombs on Thai bases and firing rockets at civilian areas. And now let's quickly give you the breaking news that we are tracking for you on the same. Well, Malaysia has urged Thailand and Cambodia to undertake full and effective implementation of ceasefire agreements and peace accord. Malaysia's foreign minister said that hopes special ASEAN foreign ministers meeting will renew efforts for a return to stability. He said that ASEAN must do whatever necessary to maintain regional peace. This comes ahead of the much sought after, much looked ahead ASEAN meeting, which is scheduled to take place in Kuala Lumpur, as we were just telling you. And this is the latest that we are tracking for you, that Malaysia has urged Thailand and Cambodia to undertake full implementation of the ceasefire agreement. And the FM also said that ASEAN members will renew efforts and will work towards stabilizing the situation, the current condition and the tensions between Thailand and Cambodia, as of the latest statement that is coming in. Now, he further said that the foreign minister further said that our goal goes beyond de-escalating the tension, and it must intensify trust building among the conflicting parties. So this is the further statement that has come from the foreign minister, that trust building is important. They are expecting towards a positive resolution and, of course, an end to the ongoing conflict, the ongoing tensions between Thailand and Cambodia. It's been days since the tensions are unfolding, but now a ray of hope can be seen with the latest statement, as we are all looking forward to the meeting that is all set to happen in Kuala Lumpur. Moving on, a photo of US President Donald Trump that had been removed from the cache of Jeffrey Epstein files released by the Department of Justice was restored on Sunday after officials determined none of Epstein's victims were in the image. The Justice Department said on X, and I quote him here, "After the review, it was determined there is no evidence that any Epstein victims are depicted in the photograph and it has been reposted without any alteration or redaction," unquote. The photo showing a desk with an open drawer containing a photo of Donald Trump with various women was flagged by the Southern District of New York for review to protect potential victims. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche said earlier on Sunday his office removed the photo because of concerns about women in the photo. Now, up to 16 photographs, including the desk drawer Trump image, were removed on Saturday from the Justice Department website. The Justice Department released thousands of documents on Friday related to Jeffrey Epstein, a convicted sex offender who committed suicide in 2019. But it has drawn criticism, including from some Republicans, over the extensive redactions and few documents mentioning Trump despite his well-publicized friendship with Epstein. And now let's take a look at the timeline of the Jeffrey Epstein investigation and the fight to make the government's file public. To begin with, March 2005, investigation opened against Epstein after a minor report sexual abuse. Moving on to the year 2006, grand jury indicted on solicitation. And in the same year, in the month of July, Epstein was arrested after indictment and FBI began its investigation. Further, in the year 2007, federal prosecutors drafted indictment and secret no prosecution deal was offered. But in the month of June, the year 2008, Epstein pleaded guilty to state charges and he was sentenced to 18 months with work release. Moving on to the next year, 2009, Epstein was released from jail after 13 months. But in the year 2015, Virginia sued Ghislaine Maxwell for defamation over trafficking claims. And 3 years after that, in 2018, Miami Herald exposed renewed scrutiny of plea deal. Moving on to the next year, which is 2019, Epstein was arrested on sex trafficking charges. And in the same year, but in the month of August, Epstein died in New York jail awaiting a trial. After that, in 2020, federal prosecutors charged Maxwell with sex crimes. To the next year, in 2021, in the month of December, Maxwell was convicted of sex trafficking and other crimes. In the year 2022, in the month of June, Maxwell was sentenced to 20 years in prison. 2 years after that, in 2024, judge unsealed more number of records and new information came to the fore. Moving on to the next year, in 2025, which is this year, but in the month of July, DOJ said no client list, House pushed for full file release. And in the same year, which is the current year, but in the month of November, Congress passed Epstein Files Transparency Act and Trump signed it into the law the very next day. Talking about the current month and the development regarding the case, the Justice Department has begun its releasing records related to the Jeffrey Epstein case. Moving on. Now let's get you updates on the Bondi Beach shooting. Australia's New South Wales State Parliament was recalled to vote on proposed new laws that would impose major curbs on firearm ownership, ban the display of terror symbols, and restrict protests following a mass shooting at the Bondi Beach. The proposed new laws would cap the number of firearms a person can own at 4 or up to 10 for certain groups, such as the farmers. Currently, there is no limit to firearm ownership if the reason can be justified to the police, and there are more than 50 people in the state who own more than 100 guns. The proposed legislation would also give the police more power to remove face covering during protests or rallies. One of the alleged Bondi gunmen, Sajid Akram, was shot dead by police and owned 6 firearms. His 24-year-old son, Naved Akram, has been charged with 59 offences, including murder and terrorism.
Introducing new laws, tough new laws to protect the community, to crack down on hate and strengthen public safety. The legislation bans the public displays of terrorist symbols, outlaws violence, incitement to violence in New South Wales, and gives police stronger powers during public assemblies.
Removing guns from our street makes our streets safer. We have more than 1.1 million guns in our state. And reducing the number of those, particularly for rec shooters, I think is reasonable.
Meanwhile, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese on Monday said that he would push for tougher laws against hate speech and extremism in the wake of the country's deadliest mass shooting in decades. Addressing the media following a meeting with National Cabinet, the Australian Prime Minister called for bipartisan support for creating an aggravated offence for hate preaching and other new laws.
A summary of the legislative measures that will be considered: creating an aggravated offence for hate preaching, advocating violence against protected groups; increasing penalties for existing offences for hate speech, advocating violence or property destruction against protected groups; making hate motivation a factor in sentencing for Commonwealth crimes, with options to limit this to online threat and harassment crimes, as announced, to expand to all Commonwealth crimes if required.
A helicopter flew over Bondi Beach with a message of solidarity with Australia's Jewish community as people lay flowers nearby on a day of reflection in remembrance of the 15 people killed in a gun attack a week earlier that targeted a seaside Hanukkah festival event. There was a main memorial event in the state of New South Wales, which hundreds of people watched at a site near Bondi Beach, listening to speeches from the president of the NSW Jewish Board of Deputies, David Ossip, and prayers from rabbis. A candle projection lit up Sydney Opera House on Sunday, marking a national day of reflection to honour the victims of a gun attack a week earlier that targeted a seaside Jewish Hanukkah festival event. The nation marked the day of reflection to honour the 15 people killed and many wounded in the attack at Bondi Beach by 2 gunmen. With security tight and flags at half-staff on government buildings, a minute of silence at 7:47 GMT, the time began. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and other Israeli leaders lit the candles and commended the vigilance shown by Chabad emissaries all around the world. The mass shooting, which is Australia's worst in nearly 30 years, is being investigated as an act of terrorism targeting the Jewish community, while authorities have ramped up patrols and policing across the country to prevent further violence. And in some more news from Australia, the country proposed a natural gas reservation policy that would require exporters to reserve between 15% and 25% of gas production for the domestic market. The proposal will not affect existing contracts and will only cover new contracts, Energy Minister Chris Bowen told. A detailed design will be developed after consulting the industry and international partners, where exporters need to meet domestic supply obligations before exports are approved. The government has framed the proposal as part of a broader energy transition strategy, balancing the need for near-term gas supply with longer-term goals of expanding renewable energy and reducing emissions. In Nigeria, authorities have secured the release of 130 kidnapped school children taken by gunmen from a Catholic school in November. In a post on social media platform X, President Bola Tinubu's spokesperson said the school children are expected to arrive in capital city of Niger State, Minna, on Monday and rejoin their parents for the Christmas celebration. The students are among more than 300 pupils and 12 staff seized by gunmen from St. Mary's Catholic boarding school in the early hours of November the 21st. 50 of the children managed to escape at the time, while Nigeria's government said on the 8th of December that it had managed to rescue 100 of those abducted. The freedom of the school children followed a military intelligence-driven operation. The abduction caused outrage over worsening insecurity in northern Nigeria, where armed gangs frequently target schools for ransom. School kidnapping surged after Boko Haram terrorists abducted 276 girls from Chibok in 2014. In a tragic incident, at least 16 people were killed and several others were injured after a bus lost its control and struck a concrete barrier before rolling on the road in Indonesia's Java main island on early Monday. The inter-province bus was travelling from Jakarta to Yogyakarta when it overturned while entering a curved exit ramp near Semarang city. The rescue team and police arrived soon after the accident and launched a rescue operation. 15 people were pronounced dead at the scene, while another person died in hospital. Authorities are yet to confirm the cause of the accident. Transport accidents are common in Indonesia. In 2024, at least 12 people were killed when a car crashed into a bus and another car on a busy highway. And in 2019, at least 35 people were killed when a bus plunged into a ravine on the western island of Sumatra. And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world in brief. In Amazonas, a person dressed as Santa Claus alongside volunteers visited a riverside community on Saturday, distributing gifts to the children. Families enjoyed photos with Santa, gift distributions and festive carols as part of the annual initiative bringing Christmas cheer to remote communities since 1998. A firefighter dressed as Santa Claus rappelled 70 meters from a bridge north of Guatemala City on Sunday, delighting children with gifts for low-income families. Hector Chacon has carried on this holiday tradition for nearly 30 years, distributing presents collected through donations at fire stations across the country. Scuba divers led a festive underwater dive at Pleasure Reef off the Key Largo in Florida. Divers swam alongside marine life, including a moray eel, shark and Goliath grouper. The scuba divers have hosted the annual underwater Santa dive for 35 years now, giving the visitors a unique holiday photo opportunity on the reef. Time to take a short break, but still to come on the other side. President Draupadi Murmu grants assent to Shanti Bill and NVB G-RAM G Bill 2025. Himachal Pradesh's Rohtang Pass turns into a winter wonderland as fresh snowfall blankets the high peak. In a major milestone, first ever food grain freight train of FCI reaches Anantnag goods terminal.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout ho gaya.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. After that short break, you're watching DD India News Hour. President Draupadi Murmu has granted assent to the Sustainable Harnessing and Advancement of Nuclear Energy for Transforming India Bill, passed by the Parliament of India during the recently concluded winter session. The Shanti Bill repealed the Atomic Energy Act of 1962 and the Civil Liability for Nuclear Damage Act 2010. These laws have governed the sector for decades and were often cited as barriers to large-scale private participation. The law enables private companies and joint ventures to build, own, operate and decommission nuclear power plants under a license from the government. The law further specifies that activities such as uranium and thorium mining, enrichment and isotopic separation, reprocessing of spent nuclear fuel, management of high-level radioactive waste and production of heavy water will continue to remain in solely under the control of the central government or its owned entities. President Draupadi Murmu has also given assent to the Viksit Bharat Guarantee for Rozgar and Ajivika Mission Bill 2025. The Viksit Bharat G-RAM G is a major overhaul of the two-decade-old Manrega. The new law introduces a modern statutory framework aligned with the vision of developed India by the year 2047, guaranteeing 125 days of wage employment per rural household. It aims to strengthen the rural economy through better planning, transparency and productive asset creation. Our next report gives you more details. Take a look.
Viksit Bharat G-RAM G Act 2025. It is a major overhaul of the 20-year-old MG Narega. It establishes a modern statutory framework aligned with Developed India 2047. It guarantees 125 days of wage employment per rural household. It represents a major upgrade over MG Narega, fixing structural weaknesses while enhancing employment, transparency, planning and accountability. The Act strengthens the rural economy through productive asset creation, higher incomes and better resilience. Farmers are going to benefit directly through both labor availability and better agricultural infrastructure. Farmers to get guaranteed labor availability, water and irrigation assets, better connectivity and storage for their produce. Laborers will gain from higher guaranteed days, better wages, stronger protections and transparent systems. MG Narega was built for 2005, but rural India has transformed since then. G-RAM G bill modernizes the system, building a more accountable, targeted and relevant employment framework. G-RAM G bill offers AI-based fraud detection, central plus state steering committees for oversight, enhanced monitoring role for panchayats, GPS, mobile-based monitoring, real-time MIS dashboards, weekly public disclosures and stronger social audits. But why a shift from central sector to a centrally sponsored scheme? Rural employment is inherently local. Now states will share costs and responsibility. The structure is balanced and sensitive to state capacity. Standard ratio of sharing financial cost is 60 to 40 for center and state. For northeast and Himalayan states and union territories, the ratio is 90 to 10. Center will bear 90% of the cost. 60-day of no work period is mandated in the Act. It ensures labor availability during sowing and harvest. It will prevent sharp wage inflation that raises food prices. Workers still get 125 guaranteed days in the remaining 300 days.
India's heavy lift rocket LVM-3 is set for a launch on the 24th of December, carrying AST Space Mobile's powerful Bluebird 6 satellite to low Earth orbit. The mission from the Satish Dhawan Space Center, Sriharikota, will mark one of ISRO's most significant commercial flights of 2025. The 6.5-ton Bluebird 6 will be the heaviest satellite ever placed into LEO by LVM-3. The satellite is part of AST Space Mobile's next-generation fleet, designed to create what the company describes as the world's first and only space-based cellular broadband network, directly connecting to everyday smartphones. Now, once operational, it will support commercial and government users, enabling direct-to-device broadband coverage across priority markets. Moving on now, let's get you all the latest on the ongoing weather conditions across the country. Intense cold wave conditions and dense fog continues to disrupt normal life across several northern states, with the Indian Meteorological Department issuing alerts amid persistent foggy conditions. For Delhi, IMD predicted a partly cloudy sky with moderate fog in many places. The minimum temperature is expected to be around 20 to 22 degrees Celsius, while the minimum temperature will fall between 8 to 10 degrees Celsius. Dense to very dense foggy conditions during night and morning hours is very much likely in some parts of Uttarakhand and Uttar Pradesh, along with Haryana till the 27th of December. According to the IMD, minimum temperatures are expected to rise gradually by 2 to 3 degrees Celsius over northwest India during the next 3 days. There will be no significant change in minimum temperatures over Maharashtra, central India and northeast India during the next 7 days. Delhi's Indira Gandhi International Airport has issued advisory to all the passengers travelling from the Delhi airport. Low visibility procedures are still in progress at the airport, but authorities have confirmed that all flight operations are currently functioning normally. Passengers are advised to contact their respective airlines for latest updates on arrivals, departures and flight schedules. The airport continues to monitor conditions closely to ensure safe and smooth operations. In Ladakh, light to moderate snowfall has been recorded at many places across Kargil district since Saturday night. According to the latest weather update, light to moderate snowfall is likely to continue at many places in Kargil and Zanskar. Leh has turned into a white wonderland with its first spell of snow. Visuals from Leh showed trees completely covered in snow and houses and fences were also blanketed in snow. According to IMD, Leh recorded a minimum temperature of -2 degrees Celsius. Meanwhile, Sonmarg in the Kashmir Valley witnessed the first snowfall of the season on Sunday, covering the region in a thick blanket of white. At the same time, Srinagar continues to experience a persistent cold wave condition with foggy morning. Heavy fog is visible in the visuals near Dal Lake, with boat rides and sightseeing still operating. And to get you more on this, I'm joined by DD India correspondent from Srinagar, Shabir Dar. Good morning, Shabir. Tell us the latest weather conditions that you are tracking for all our viewers from there.
Yeah, good morning. Yeah, Srinagar is foggy this morning, and as we know, yesterday there was a first snowfall of the season in parts of Kashmir, particularly the Sonmarg, Gulmarg, and upper and under higher reaches. Srinagar and other plain areas received the rainfall, which resulted in the ending of the prolonged dry spell in Kashmir. Because this season we have seen Kashmir was plunged into a prolonged dry spell, which had caused a lot of respiratory problems to people, and people had a sigh of relief when yesterday on 24th December the Chalaikalan started, which is the harshest period of winter, and it is it has a reputation of bringing large number of snow and rainfall. And as it snowed and rained in parts of Kashmir, the Chalaikalan actually came to true to this reputation. So definitely a sigh of relief for the people from the biting chill, because the rains and snow definitely resulted in respite from the biting cold. But nonetheless, the snow has brought cheers not only to the people but to tourists who have thronged to places like Gulmarg, Sonmarg, Pahalgam and other higher reaches. And as it has snowed and it is white blanketed in places of Kashmir, the tourism stakeholders are seeing hopes of revival of tourism in Jammu and Kashmir, because we have seen the Kashmir had a slump in tourism from April, and the snow this time is bringing hopes back to the tourism stakeholders who are seeing a bumper tourism, particularly during these winter months.
All right, thank you so much, Shabir, for joining us and getting us the latest from Srinagar. Well, Rohtang Pass in Himachal Pradesh's Manali region also turned into a winter wonderland as fresh snowfall blanketed the highest peak. The picture-perfect landscape delighted the tourists who stepped out to soak in the season's charm. And many say that they feel lucky to witness the first snowfall of the year, and further urged others to experience Manali's magic. Now, with snowflakes falling and spirits soaring, Manali welcomes winter in all its glory.
The iconic Rohtang Pass in Himachal Pradesh's Manali region turned into a winter wonderland on Sunday as the high peaks received fresh snowfall. The snow transformed the landscape into a picture-perfect scene, delighting tourists who stepped out to soak in the winter charm. Many visitors said they felt lucky to witness the season's first snowfall and encouraged others to visit Manali for the experience.
यहाँ पर फर्स्ट स्नोफॉल हो रहा है, फर्स्ट एक्सपीरियंस है, बहुत मजा आ रहा है और चारों तरफ बर्फ ही बर्फ है और हम पूरे फ्रेंड्स हमारे कजिन्स आए, हमने यहाँ पर फुल एंजॉय किया है।
जो भी हमने अभी घूमा है एकदम शानदार रहा और मैं तो ये कहूँगा अब ये नए साल पे लोग और यहाँ आने की कोशिश करें और एंजॉय करें। देखो लाइव स्नो पड़ रही है, फुल एंजॉय हो रहा है।
स्नोफॉल का एक्सपीरियंस लेने आया था, वो मेरे को लाइव मिल गई, वो बहुत अच्छा लगा। लोगों की फेक वीडियो आती थी कि पड़ रही है, लेकिन जब यहाँ पे हमने खुद से देखा था, हमें बहुत अच्छा लगा, बहुत अच्छा एक्सपीरियंस रहा, एंजॉय भी किया हमने। और मैं कह रहा हूँ नए साल पे और क्रिसमस पे लोगों को आना चाहिए, यहाँ पे काफ़ी अच्छा लगेगा।
Beyond Himachal, the magic of winter has spread far and wide. Kargil in Ladakh has transformed into a breathtaking snowy paradise with fresh snow blanketing the region. Meanwhile, in Jammu and Kashmir, Gulmarg received its first snowfall of the season, delighting tourists who rush to the meadows to make unforgettable winter memories.
In a major milestone for rail-based logistics in the Kashmir Valley, the first ever food grain freight train of the Food Corporation of India reached the Anantnag goods terminal on Sunday. The freight train, carrying over 1,300 metric tons of food grains loaded in wagons, was dispatched from Punjab and successfully arrived at the Anantnag goods terminal. The arrival of the freight train is a significant step to ensure an uninterrupted and efficient supply of food grains to the valley, particularly during the winter season. The development will boost local markets, strengthen the regional agricultural economy, and create new opportunities in logistics and allied sectors. Now, National Mathematics Day is being observed today, and India observes the Mathematics Day every year. It rather observes on the 22nd of December, marking the birth anniversary of legendary mathematician Srinivas Ramanujan. Need India's Taposh Bhattacharya has got more details in the next report. Take a look.
On National Mathematics Day, we celebrate the language that shapes our world, mathematics. Observed on 22nd of December, this day honors the birth anniversary of legendary mathematician Srinivasa Ramanujan, whose brilliance transformed numbers into timeless discoveries. From ancient India's zero to modern algorithms, driving space missions, finance and technology, mathematics is the invisible force powering progress. It sharpens logic, fuels innovation, and turns imagination into solutions.
We know the importance of the subject mathematics. It helps us in everyday calculations like cooking, sports, architecture, travel, and many more fields. It also helps our problem-solving skills. It trains our brain to break complex challenges into manageable steps. It helps in financial literacy. It also develops logical reasoning and critical thinking. It sharpens our analytical skills. So, we need to study mathematics with great interest and joy.
Today, we salute the thinkers, teachers, and students who keep the legacy alive, solving problems, pushing boundaries, and building the future one equation at a time. Because mathematics is not just about numbers, it is about possibilities, precision, and progress. Taposh Bhattacharya's report, TD India.
And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the country in brief. Meghalaya's capital, Shillong, is aglow with festive cheer as Christmas approaches, with markets beautifully decorated and illuminated. Residents and tourists are thronging the market area, enjoying the vibrant atmosphere and shopping for gifts, decorations and festive treats. The 10-day Shilpagram festival began in Rajasthan's Udaipur on Sunday, celebrating India's rural arts, handicrafts and folk traditions. Artisans from across the country are showcasing traditional crafts, music and dance, attracting visitors and tourists in large numbers. Prayagraj is witnessing a surge in migratory birds as thousands of Siberian species arrived at Triveni Sangam to escape the harsh winter of their homeland. The migratory birds have added to the beauty of Sangam, attracting tourists and boosting local livelihood. Their presence is also believed to help maintain the ecological balance of the area. Business updates now. Gold prices shot to a record high on Monday as investors grow increasingly optimistic that the US Federal Reserve will continue to cut interest rates through next year. The precious metal hit a peak of $4,383.76 in early trade as a string of data last week pointing to further weakness in the US labor market and easing inflation that gave the central bank room to ease monetary policy further. Monday's gain pushed the commodity past its previous high of $4,381.52 touched in October. Asian share markets rose on Monday, tracking tech-driven gains on Wall Street, while the yen wallowed at all-time lows against the euro and Swiss franc, as higher interest rates at home did nothing to deter speculative sellers. Turnovers were sparse in what is a holiday-shortened week for much of the world, but the path of least resistance was higher ahead of delayed data that is forecast to show the US economy had continued to grow strongly in the third quarter. Oil prices gained after the US intercepted a Venezuelan oil tanker over the weekend and was pursuing another one in what would be the third such operation in less than 2 weeks. Japan's government said will take appropriate steps against excessive moves in Japanese currency yen. Japanese government spokesperson in a press briefing warned of the chance of government intervention after last week's central bank meeting that caused renewed yen declines. The remarks followed those by Finance Minister Satsuki Katayama late on Friday that Tokyo would respond appropriately to excessive speculative moves in the yen, underscoring its concern over sharp yen falls that push up import prices and households' cost of living. The Bank of Japan raised interest rates to 0.75% from 0.5% on Friday, taking borrowing costs to levels unseen in 3 decades and narrowing the rate differential with the US Fed Reserve. You're watching DD India News Hour. Now it's time to get you all the latest from the world of sports, to begin with women's cricket first. Jemima Rodriguez struck a superb unbeaten 69 to guide the Indian women to an 8-wicket victory over Sri Lanka in the first T20 at Visakhapatnam's VDCA Stadium. Chasing 122, India sealed the victory in just 14.4 overs. Earlier, skipper Harmanpreet Kaur opted to field first, and disciplined bowling from Kranti Gaur and Deepti Sharma restricted Sri Lanka to 121 for a loss of 6 wickets. Moving on, Delhi's winter calendar is heating up with one of the capital's most vibrant cultural and lifestyle events. From fashion brands to music and culinary indulgences, Boho Bazar returned to Delhi for its 7th edition. DD India's Tanvi Taneja soaked in the holiday cheer. Take a look.
As chill winds sweep across the capital, New Delhi's JLN Stadium has transformed into a lively winter marketplace. Boho Bazar, dubbed the epic flea market, was back in its festive avatar, drawing thousands of visitors to its Christmas edition on December 20th and 21st. The bazaar featured the Banjara market with more than 300 curated pop-up brands offering everything from contemporary fashion and artisanal home decor to wellness products, accessories and thoughtful seasonal gifts.
हम लोग बहुत टाइम से बोहो बाजार और फूड ट्रक फेस्टिवल में कोलैबोरेशन करते हैं इनके साथ, और हम अपना स्टॉल लगाते हैं जो ये सारा डिस्प्ले करते हैं। ये हमें वो फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट देते हैं स्टॉल, बीइंग एन एनजीओ। और ये सारा मटेरियल जो है, जो हमारे पास स्लम से बेनिफिशरीज आते हैं उनके द्वारा बनाया गया हुआ है, और इसके सेल करने से जो भी हमें प्रॉफिट होता है वो सारा प्रॉफिट हम उन्हीं बेनिफिशरीज को देते हैं।
The bazaar also provided an opportunity to many young corporates to market their own startup brands.
I'm doing it as a part-time job, but in future might be as a full-time business owner.
Okay, so what has inspired you to go into skincare?
Like I have very sensitive skin, so as my sister, like all three, my sister, my mother and me, all have different skin types. So I want something which suits to all skin type. So it is a kind of homegrown brand which is totally chemical free and no harsh chemical, nothing. It is all natural products.
It was not just shopping. The Boho Bazar has become a winter experience with over 50 food and beverage partners, from specialty coffee corners, mulled wine stations to gourmet treats that added to the festive spirit. And for music lovers, the atmosphere was electric. Live performances by popular indie favorites like the Indian Ocean, the Yellow Diary and the like elevated the mood, turning the marketplace into a blend of culture, commerce and celebration. In the previous editions, the festival has featured interactive zones, from do-it-yourself workshops to caricature artists and tarot readings, creating memorable experiences for visitors and encouraging creativity and community engagement.
It's like highly popular and people love getting them done. Like even in college fairs and different places I've been doing it, like with collaboration or in different stalls.
What began as a flea market has grown into one of Delhi's signature festive events.
With twinkling lights, festive beats and a whole lot of Christmas cheer, the Boho Festival here in New Delhi has brought the spirit of the season alive, celebrating culture, creativity and celebration under one sky. It has once again proved that Delhiites don't let the winter chill stop them from celebrating. With camera person Bheem Singh, this is Tanvi Taneja for DD India.
And with this, it's a wrap here on DD India News Hour. Thank you so much for joining us. Namaskar.